100 years on, a dawn service to remember war heroes. LinkPNG extends airline services to remote Losuia. And Hekari FC annihilate Madang in the Telikom National Soccer League.
This is the National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Thank you for joining me. This is Saturday's news. Embrace the true history of the war in PNG and salute those fallen heroes that committed their lives for our nation. These were the words of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill at this morning's Anzac Day service at the Bomana War Cemetery outside Port Moresby. Mr. O'Neill said PNG will treasure this history and remember the bravery of those that served during the war.
Before dawn at the Bomana War Cemetery this morning, dignitaries from PNG, Australia, New Zealand and other allied forces assembled to pay their respects and commemorate the Anzac Day. It was a special moment for those that gathered to pay tribute, respect and honor to over 3,000 men and women who fought and died in World War II in the Pacific. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said PNG must not bypass the Anzac spirit but embrace it as it is an extraordinary commitment by those service personnel.
The bravery of the Papuans along the Crocodile Tract remains one of the most honored parts in the history of the war in the Pacific. We pay special tribute to those brave men and women who wrote their names in the history with distinction and courage.
O'Neill said PNG will stand side by side with Australia, New Zealand and Turkey and salute heroes fallen in the Gallipoli War. Wreaths were laid as men and women think of the buried that gave countries the freedom to live in peace.
And our countries have moved on from the horrors of war, but we will honor those who have paid the supreme sacrifice.
The Bomana War Cemetery is the final resting home to 3,824 fallen soldiers. Over 50,000 PNG civilians helped in the war in PNG. This year also commemorates the 100th year of the war in Gallipoli and 73rd anniversary of the war in Kokoda. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
In Madang, more than 2,000 people attended the 100th Anzac Dawn service at the Coast Watchers Memorial and World War II Memorial sites. A guard of honor was formed by nurses, police, warders and students from the Madang Maritime College. In his welcome remarks, Sir Peter Bata paid tribute to the PNG servicemen for their contribution towards the freedom of PNG. The Australian government was represented by Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Blair and the New Zealand government represented by Maureen Hill. The Gilmore clan from Australia made the journey to Madang especially for the Anzac service. Madang continues to commemorate Anzac Day each year. After 30 years, Air New Guinea has now commenced flights into Losuia in the Kiriwena-Goodenough district of Milne Bay province. The flights to Losuia operate twice a week, every Monday and Fridays. LinkPNG's service to remote districts like Kiriwena-Goodenough is part of the government's vision to connect remote districts.
Losuia, located in the Kiriwena LLG, is an island tourism hub, not only rich in culture and beauty, but also in history, because it was on Kiriwena where the Allied forces landed during World War II in 1943. LinkPNG service to this area, among other factors, is to open up the district to domestic and international tourism markets. Services operate using a low-cost carrier model, one that provides regular flights at affordable price for the ordinary Papua New Guinean. Previously, LinkPNG initially operated to 12 remote destinations, but with the inclusion of Losuia and Mount Hagen, this brings the number to 14. The ministerial delegation who attended the inaugural flight, led by State Enterprise Minister Ben Micah, included Works Minister Francis Awesa and Minister for Community Development Delilah Gore, among others. They encouraged the people of Losuia to utilize LinkPNG service and support the state-owned entity. Bridget Komatep, National MTV News.
A national security firm has gone one step ahead by training its guards on international aviation security measures. A total of 40 guards from ASILA Security Services received training certified by the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO. ASILA is contracted by National Airports Corporation to provide security services at the Jacksons Airport. PNG is a signatory to ICAO, and therefore all security firms operating at airports must have minimum international standards training on airport safety.
One female is among the 40 who received basic international standards airport safety training from one of the country's few trainers recognized by the International Civil Aviation Organization. These 40 are part of more than 800 guards ASILA is currently employing nationwide. ASILA is on a year-long contract with the National Airports Corporation for services at Jacksons International Airport and hopes to extend that contract for another 3 years. However, it has to meet the requirements set by NAC to have internationally recognized training on aviation safety.
Training is very, very important, and it is geared towards enhancing the skills and knowledge of all aviation security officers working at the airport.
With this training, the management of ASILA is hopeful NAC will extend the contract to other centers throughout the country.
The managing director and the management have already committed, and we are willing to train our guards and prepare them for, if NAC gives us the opportunity, then we would gladly train our guards to continue with them in the years to come.
Another 40 will undergo the same training, and the company's management has challenged the recipients to put into practice the skills attained from the week-long training. NAC's operation manager Luke Luther, who was at the graduation yesterday, acknowledged the company's investment in human resource.
As security and safety is most concerned.
He said this was a step in the right direction, as this training will prepare ASILA to provide better services during the 2015 Pacific Games. Michelle Amba, National MTV News.
The Oil Search Pacific Games relay ended their tour of Western Province with a number of school visits on the island of Daru. Kalan Services for Persons with Disabilities was amongst the schools the relay team visited. Students and teaching staff were given the opportunity to be a part of the baton relay before the journey continued on to Port Moresby on its way to Manus. Lorraine Genia with the highlights.
Before the relay team boarded to leave Daru, they toured a number of schools within the small town. Students of all ages gathered in the schoolyards chanting their support for Team PNG. From one school to another, students followed behind as the team made their way to Karakara Primary School. Again, the games relay team received an enthusiastic welcome, camera shy but eager to have their feel of the baton. Head students of the Edward Baxter Riley Primary School were dressed in Western Province's traditional attire, greeting the team along the way. Closer to the town centre, students of the Daru Chalmers Primary School flooded the roads for their one chance to get a glimpse of the baton. The second last visit to Kalan Services for Persons with Disabilities would leave a lasting impression on the team. Colourful, traditional and warming performances brought out the team's emotions. Daru Secondary School was the last of the lot. An overwhelming goodbye would see the team make their way to the airport and back to Port Moresby. The All Search Pacific Games relay continues as they travel to the Manus province. Lorraine Genia, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Still ahead, police arrest suspects in Simbu robbery, policemen clean up barracks, and an MOU between PNG and Indonesia. Welcome back to National MTV News. Police have arrested suspects in the Kundiawa robbery that occurred earlier this week in Simbu Province. Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector Albert Belly told MTV News that 5 arrests were made in 2 different locations. Inspector Belly said 3 arrests were made in Leh with 2 other arrests in Kundiawa. The suspects in Leh will be transported to Kundiawa for further investigations. PPC Belly says people involved are not only from Kundiawa but from other provinces as well. The suspects made off with cash valued at over 200,000 kina from one of the main shopping centres in town. He says more arrests will be made as police progress with investigations. Continuing, at least 3 main police barracks in Port Moresby underwent a major clean-up this morning. This follows Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki's directive to stop the sale of betel nut and alcohol consumption in all police barracks in Port Moresby. MTV's Tekla Gunga visited the Gordon's Police Barracks after the clean-up today.
The cleanup is in response to Commissioner Vaki's instruction to eradicate all illegal activities in all police barracks within NCD. These illegal activities include the sale and consumption of alcohol and betel nut, housing extended families, and breeding of animals within the barracks. At Gordon's Barracks, the cleanup began as early as 6 o'clock this morning and attracted hundreds of families from the marital and single quarters.
So you can see for yourself the barracks is taking shape, and we will take it one at a time until we really bring these barracks into what it used to be before.
On Tuesday, Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki made a surprise visit to the Gordon's Police Barracks and expressed his disappointment on the sale of betel nut in the barracks. He said betel nut sales within the barracks by wives of police officers has created a bad image for the constabulary.
As far as I'm concerned, this business of betel nut chewing and this business of if there's people who are smuggling them in here, they have no mercy from me, I can tell you from here. Because they will be systematically identified and charged, and they will be out of the process.
Following Vaki's visit, senior police officers, including Divisional Commander for NCD and Central, Jerry Frank, turned up at the different barracks and coordinated the cleanup.
And therefore, as a Divisional Commander of NCD Central, the buck stops with me and with my officers. And I took the challenge that was given to me by the Commissioner. And therefore, I started this morning.
Frank predicts the cleanup will become an occasional activity and encourage the officers to continue in their respective barracks. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
Papua New Guinea and Indonesia signed a record 11 Memoranda of Understanding for closer technical cooperation in geoscience and associated fields. The MOUs covered air transport arrangements, workers' exchange, education, training and petroleum and energy. The MOU was signed in Indonesia recently.
The record signing of the 11 MOUs is a historic achievement for Indonesia and PNG for the next 5 years. The MOU aims to provide a framework for the exchange of scientific and technical knowledge to improve both countries' capability in geoscientific research. This will see Indonesia and PNG working along the border areas through research, geological mapping and assessment of energy, groundwater and mineral resources. Mineral Resource Authority Managing Director Philip Sama believes the MOUs will result in mutual benefits to Indonesia and PNG. Sama says PNG and Indonesia have untapped mineral resources, and work on this will enhance knowledge to how best the two countries can transform these resources into benefits. This would be one of MRA's big projects in the next 5 years. The MOUs was signed by MRA's Philip Sama and Indonesian counterparts in Bandung, Indonesia. Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
Trukai Sports is next. We'll have sailing, rugby league and results from today's NSL match. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. All concerns regarding the inclusion of sailing at the 2015 Pacific Games have been cleared. Yesterday, the Games Organizing Committee confirmed the use of the Fairfax Harbour and the Royal Papua Yacht Club as host. The change in venue comes after Gabutu failed to meet international safety requirements.
Although sailing has been on the back burner for the RPYC in previous years, they are now heading in the right direction, the first step of hosting the sailing for the 2015 Pacific Games.
The club and all the members, I'm sure, are very proud to be hosting these events, and we'll do our utmost to make sure it's a showcase event for Papua New Guinea and for the Games. And we thank the Games organisers for providing the opportunity for the club to step up and play its part.
Rear Commodore of the RPYC, Haddon Wright, says the club will do all that is required by the GOC to ensure the smooth sailing of the event.
We don't expect there'll be any issues with the Harbour Master and other authorities in charge of the harbour, and I'm sure in the spirit of hosting a good Games and a successful Games for Papua New Guinea, boat owners and operators and the Harbour Master will no doubt fall in behind the request of the Games Organising Committee.
Chief Executive Officer of the Games Organising Committee, Peter Stewart, said part of the reason why sailing will be held in the Fairfax Harbour is because of the sailing conditions here in Port Moresby, and it only makes sense to have all three water sports take place at the same venue. While the Fairfax Harbour is an ideal location to host all three water sports, the vessels anchored within the vicinity have become a concern for the public. Mr. Wright says the club, in coordination with the GOC, will be speaking to relevant authorities if need be. President of the PNG Sailing Association, Graham Numa, has objected to the decision for RPYC to host sailing. However, the Gabutu sailing venue still remains as a legacy venue. Now, following the Games, all equipment used will then be handed over to them. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby League now, and defence was the key in today's round of the Port Moresby Rugby League competition at Murray Barracks. In the Under-19 men's division, Connie Storms kept up their form with a narrow win against Dobo Warriors 6 points to 4. Defence were held to a 4-point draw over Souths. Hohola Flies held off West in a 4-all draw, and despite coming off a forfeit last weekend, Magani went down to Butterflies 8 points to 4. The women's division will kick off its matches next weekend, with clubs and players yet to pay their respective registration fees. To the NSL now, and Hekari had one of the biggest wins in the club's history with an emphatic 8-1 win over Madang FC in wet and slippery conditions at the CIS College at Bomana today. Returning from a relatively successful campaign in the OFC Champions League, the 9-time NSL winners handed Madang a footballing lesson in round 13 of the season. And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region, Port Moresby, you can expect a shower or two. Mostly fine in Daru, few showers in Kerma and Alotau, and showers then thunderstorms in Popondetta. To the Momasa region, Leh, you can expect thundery showers then rain, a few showers in Madang, brief showers in Wewak, and fine weather for Vanimo. Over to the New Guinea Islands, all centres to expect thundery showers. And in the Highlands region, all centres evening showers and morning fog. When Hagen, brief evening showers, then morning fog. And that's the way it is today, Saturday, the 25th of April 2015. From the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.